passing stuff up. Sign seats, yeah.
Oh, you got everyone here?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man.
Sort of.
Yeah, right?
I hear our intro music, so we'll call the November 14th Architecture Review Board meeting to order. Steve, if you could please call the roll, including, we've got a couple of folks calling in today.
All right, Joe Clark.
Here.
Jerry Jones.
Here.
Zach Rust.
Here.
Bob Heimerl.
Here.
Dick Lindy.
Here.
Pam Langen.
Here.
And Dave Alday.
Here. Thank you. We have a full house. If I could ask everyone who's here to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And item number 3, board members identifying potential conflicts of interest. Bob, noting for item number 6. Any others?
I also have a conflict for the dermatology clinic.
So Dave, also on number 6. Thank you. Item number 4, looking for approval of the minutes from our October 26th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thanks, Pam. I guess with you guys remote, we'll have to make sure we get our votes called so you guys have time to get those in. Moving to number 5, the proposed exterior remodel of Bitter Newman at 827 North 14th. If folks presenting, if you could come to the staff podium to the side. I guess the guest podium isn't working today.
Okay.
If you could make introductions and give us a brief overview of what's being proposed, please.
Steve Schmidt, President Joe Schmidt Construction Company, General Contractor.
Dan Redu, President, Bitter Newman.
You want us to present, or does Steve want to?
If you want to give us a brief description of what's proposed, we do have the package and we can pull up the drawings.
Okay, we have 3 elevations that we're looking at. The north is the top that faces the LTC building. We have the west, which faces across the street from Dalmas Decor, and to the south to Transpo Mini Storage. So looking to refresh the exterior of the building and also the main lobby area when you come into the entrance. Looking to try to get some more light in, so you see those on the west elevation, you see the windows to do there. So we're adding those along with a bigger storefront. And then the option, we had another option, we sent Steve to actually add another set of storage. We're looking to bring those 7 windows back in that were blocked in. And new coping, and then the lobby area, just redoing that lobby area. We're gonna open up the ceiling in there and kind of expose the concrete ceilings and track lighting and display in that area. So it's kind of refreshing that area. They had painted the previous building, the building to the south and also to the east 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And trying to phase in improvements. And then we're putting in new HVAC system. There was just wall air conditioners that were on both the east and the west elevation. Those are coming out in new HVAC system that will take care of heating and cooling of the second floor area. Did that cover everything, Steve? I don't know if Dan has anything more, but, and then you have the paint samples
Yeah,
there that you can hand out. Those are the two different paint samples, along with the dark bronze aluminum entrance storefront. Metal canopy is also going out of the new south entrance. That will require a frost wall and columns to the outside. I think I covered everything. New
say
coping.
I was delighted to see this one come through. The improvements here are huge on a building that's pretty prominent,
Yeah.
important location, so really appreciative of the upgrades.
Good.
One question that came up from staff discussions, maybe just briefly to talk on it, the gable section.
Yeah.
Going to such a dark color, and it's a very simple color scheme, I like it. There was a question whether that might draw too much attention to that piece of the building. Any thoughts on that?
I can answer it.
Owner, yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on that, and we saw a lot of different versions. I'll be honest with you, only one person doesn't like that, besides if there's objections here, and that's the architect. Every other person that I've shown it to thought that was the way to go. And I don't think it's gonna be dark, but I don't know that it's gonna be as dark as it looks on the picture.
Is the landscaping that's along that facade, is that coming out? Is it being replaced?
Yes. We'll be redoing that. We gotta trim the one tree that's on the south elevation there. And then we're taking out the other and redoing the landscaping barrier. We have to get a concrete sidewalk that comes out one of the other doors. We're replacing a door that's kind of frozen. How a metal door frame is, they rust out and stuff like that. And then we're doing a little stoop that comes out of that on the west elevation too, that first door.
Been interesting trying to pay more attention to this building recently. I think I've trained them to avert my eyes as I drive past.
Yeah. Well, we're trying, on the north, we have more of the historic tool shed building that we're trying to clean up that elevation with they have that little canopy over that other overhead door. That's coming out, getting blocked or bricked back in, and then a window above that. And then just redoing the landscape around that whole area. So I have a nice allowance in there for landscaping, which we'll submit at a later date. We just trying to finalize and get things going. We'd like to get long lead items ordered.
And then on the gable portion of that west elevation, and then just to the south of that, where the electrical are located, how much of that is coming out versus going back in again?
Well, all those units up above, those are coming out. You see those two air conditioning units, that comes out. So then we pop in those three windows instead of that vent or that other glass was. And then that will be a whole band that will go across, so you won't see those other windows that were in the lower area, which is in more of the warehouse area. So we felt an upper feature that would, show the doors that would be painted the same as the darker metal panels above, but those are new panels that can get over the top of that. So it's a nice relief, and then new coping on top throughout the whole area.
So Steve, if you focus on the photo to the left, is that the gas main coming in there and the electrical just to the right of that? Is that staying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that supplies all the rooftop units on top. That's that they're back and they're screened. We've got to put a couple condensers up there. We got 3 condensers that are going up there that will go on that parapet wall that you see there. Will be on the back side of that and far enough back that they don't need screening. But that's kind of the main gas service coming in there. There's the 2 doors. That door is the one that's coming out from the the second floor, kind of an fire escape coming off that way. So that's where there's no concrete out there, so we have to run concrete out for that one. But then landscaping will be brought in there to buffer that and clean that up.
It will certainly be much tidier. Other thoughts or questions, Jerry?
Yeah, I was glad Steve put that picture up because I think it shows this dark contrast we're talking about between what's there now and what's coming. And I can see the concerns over the dark, the gable in the middle, but if you compare that to what's around it, doesn't show in that photo. But almost across the street and the LTC building next door, I think it really blends in nicely
That's what
with the colors.
That's what we were trying to look. We're trying to look at what we could do with Dalmas and what they kind of did with that, and then also with Paul's building to the north there too.
Right, yeah.
Both of his buildings.
Just so the
So I thought
board's,
hopefully it's a thumbs up.
so the board's clear, there are two options being presented.
That's what I was about to ask. I'm a little confused.
The only real difference, I believe, is the storefront on the south elevation.
Yeah, I guess looking at that might be an option that you would accept that or accept it without it. We're trying to stay under budget in that right now, so we're trying to get everything finalized costs here, but we wanted to see if there's anything that was of any issue that we're gonna have to address, so.
It would be nice to see that storefront in there, but would recommend whatever motion is made maybe allows either option if people are comfortable with that.
Can you scroll up to?
Because that's on the other side of the wall. That's where the appliances are.
Jerry's asking if you can see the other one.
Oh, yeah.
South elevation.
You can just see that, what they're doing is they have the entranceway and they're looking at adding a little bit of additional, glass in that storefront in this section right here.
But if you've been in the store, hopefully you have, on the other side of that wall, you have the furniture, you have the chairs and stuff like that, there, and some furniture sets. On the other side is their appliances, so that's where a lot of the stoves, but we'd like to open that up to get a little bit more sunlight into that area.
And I think you hit this in the initial presentation, but everything on the east portion of the building, that would include a little bit at the south and the north end, that major east element, nothing's getting touched on that, correct?
Not at this time. We're gonna see how costs come into that. I mean, that's kind of a phase two. We still have a courtyard area that has been kind of an issue that's in between, that's kind of combines all these buildings that we're trying to address also. It's all inside, so it's not really an architectural review, concern, but there's costs associated with, they have snow piling in there. It's from the back of the metal building. It's a 3-story building, and then you have the other brick building in front, so if you go to an aerial, you'll see the big area it's been leaking a lot. Yeah. Right? And we want to try to address that too, but trying to finalize costs on that. Any other questions?
Dave or Pam, anything from you guys remotely?
Nope.
Nothing for me.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve as presented, allowing either option A or B to be approved, and anything substantially different to come back to staff for review.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
May I hear the motion spoken again? I didn't quite get it all.
Sure. We're giving them the option of A or B, and anything substantially different than those two photos, it would have to come back for staff review.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for clarifying. Any other questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think anyone's left. So that passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing that tidied up. What is the time frame on that?
I think he started next week. Just gotta check.
Great, thank you. All right, that brings us to item 6, the resubmittal of the Magui Dermatology at 832 Michigan. Keith, if you want to come to the staff podium.
Oops, wrong lost it. Steve has an overactive clicker finger.
And here we are.
Sorry about that, guys.
Hi, I'm Keith
Perfect
with
timing.
Adams Architects.
Right on time.
Hi, Suzanne McGoey with McGoey Dermatology and Martin Lambert with the owner of the building. So for those of you that weren't able to be here last time, what we did is, unfortunately, from the first time we came to you to the second time in those 5 weeks, the final bids came back 25% higher due to inflationary costs, which is why we came back to the board last time to try to come. Sorry, I'm apparently out of shape because apparently running up the stairs gets me out of breath.
No, that's not just you. It's all of us.
So basically, it was 25% above the original bids, cost prohibitive in such a large project. Came back last time with sort of cost savings ideas. The general consensus was that the new area of the building didn't fit in with the old. So there was a greater desire to tie the two together. So we're back again this time with what we think is a great design in something that ties together the two aspects of the building, particularly with the roof change and carrying some of the design elements through, which I'm sure Keith can speak a little bit more to the specific architectural aspects of it.
Yeah, so we took the roof design that we presented last time, which was a flat roof. I know that was less desirable, so we switched to more of a pitched and going back to an asphalt type roof. We have the existing element on the left side of the building there that's already a mansard roof with some asphalt. We carried that same approach going to the new additions, the two wings. So this is now, instead of just being a mansard that we first presented, is a full pitched roof, no flat roof anymore. By doing that, we kind of created the same aesthetic to the outside with the asphalt shingles carrying through, the gutter line, and carrying that gable end approach off to the end to highlight that existing element, the curved top with the windows underneath of it. So that was the first approach that we took now that we came back with it. And with that same design, we carried it onto the wing of the exam rooms, carrying that same pitched roof.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the one thing that stuck out for me on this revision was that the entry seems really downplayed. I'm being around the corner from Michigan. It would be nice if that was just a little more prominent. You've got the brackets added flanking the window on that new entrance elevation. So the window's getting a little more prominence, but again, that's downplaying the entry. Did you look at other options, things to consider for giving just a little more character to the entrance?
Sure. One thing I would also like to bring everyone's attention to is actually the prominent side that's facing the streets is the arch. So the angle of the building is a very bizarre angle. So what's facing the corner is actually the pillared, the stone, and that window there. So we did look at other options. We looked at moving brackets towards the downspout. We looked at moving brackets towards the door. They all look bad. I don't like them. I'm putting a lot of money into the building and I don't want to go to a place I don't like for 30 years. It just didn't look right. The brackets near the downspout, even when downspout was shifted, didn't look right. Things that we're designing, trying to play up the door, they just don't look right. So actually the way that it's designed now is meant to tie in to the windows that are the existing windows in the existing part of the building. So it kind of carries that element all the way through. So yes, we did look at those options and they didn't look very good, to be perfectly honest.
The windows in that arched element on the end are quite a bit higher than the door head. And is there any option to put a transom above that door and side light so that the height matches the height of that window in the arch?
Or would you prefer just all those windows be dropped to the same level? From a cost perspective, that seems to make more sense than adding more windows.
No, I think dropping the windows on that arched element would end up looking funny. I think that the height that they're in there looks right to me. Just that entrance, especially since we're around the corner, it's how it, are you proclaiming the entry enough? You talked about being concerned about people trying to find an entrance off Michigan Avenue, that you've got it fenced, but are people going to be trying to find an entry through the gate? to get to the door off Michigan rather than realizing that there's a door just around the corner. So that was my concern, just trying to make that entry door.
Sure, there's also a parking lot on one side and all just landscaping on the other side, which I think would probably be pretty indicative of where the entrance is. The parking lot's all on this face, sort of between the two parts of that Y. Yeah, there you go, that side.
Yeah, I don't think there's any comments in terms of the fact of the design. It's more of, a lot of times they highlight the entrance to the
Sure.
building so everyone knows where it is. So I think that's all the comment is maybe something to continue to take a look at is, you know, that entryway.
Even a panel sign over that door and side light to give just a little more prominence on that large, massive forehead of the wall above the window and door there. Just that doorway to me is the one element that's getting lost in this composition. But other thoughts, comments from the board?
Well, I think it looks more like I think what you were looking for last time. So I think as long as we can maybe work with the door, I think this should be no issue. I'm sure Steve could be more than willing to help them out with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is Pam. I can't see the door, but are you saying, did I understand you correctly, that by putting a sign above the door, that would take care of your concern about losing the entranceway? Or are you asking for something in the door, with the door and a sign?
I think my preference would be to raise the head of that door and side light so that it matches what's in the arched element at the end. Presumably the ceiling in there wouldn't be an issue if it's up high enough for that the window in the archway. But the sign was just a fallback, that something there just to give a little more attention to that entryway seemed appropriate. Whether it's a sign or something else, I don't know. It just seemed like in the view that's up there, that it was just lacking something. We talked previously about maybe putting windows around the corner, and that structurally there were concerns with that.
So a couple of things, yeah. So we'd originally, in the very, very beginning, looked at windows around on the face of the pillars, which structurally was not feasible. Obviously, anytime we add windows, the cost continues to go up. Just to put things in perspective from an inflation point of view, since we last spoke, our landscaping costs went up 35%. So that's just from a 5-week delay of cost of materials and labors. Cabinets and countertops went up 20% in the last 5 weeks. So things are going up crazy, crazy amounts of money. So while it might not seem like it adds a lot, every time we add windows in, our costs get to the point that they might not be feasible. My concern with moving the windows up in that area is right now they're all at the same height. So the windows throughout both, like the existing north side and then now the closed-in porte-cochere. My concern is if you start making them higher there, besides for adding cost, it also doesn't remain symmetrical with the other ones. So when we looked at playing around with the window that's beside the door, it doesn't look right.
Pam and Dave, any comments from you guys?
Yeah, I guess I understand what Suzanne is saying. We're trying to get this building that has been pretty nasty looking for, I don't know how long it's been in the market, but I know it's been well over a year or two. And she's trying to make a pretty eyesore building look decent. And the cost just keeps going up. And I can't see what's there, but I'm imagining that the roof is no longer a flat roof, it's a pitched roof, and I understand that it now covers the additions. So I'm picturing that that's more of a blended look than it was before. And I don't know, I guess I'm struggling to see, you know, are we looking for another bar to go up there? What are we looking to be there that is going to look as nice as this? And someone that's willing to spend this kind of money to make that that lot looks so much better.
Right, I think, and that's just it. I mean, there's no question the board can approve it as presented. I think these were some other recommendations that were just being discussed. So whether or not it's included or not, you know, that's certainly up to the board to either take a look at it as presented or if there's anything they're looking at. So that certainly is an option.
Yeah, I think, Joe, I see your point, and I've been on this committee long enough to know where you're going, where you're trying to continue that vocabulary around the corner to the height of the window. But I think in this case, with the struggles that we've had trying to find something that's compromisable, if that's a word, I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve as presented with a request to try and address that issue of something above the door, if it's a sign or whatever that might be. But I would make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Everyone's clear on the motion? Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And Dave and Bob were abstaining?
Yep.
Correct. The motion is approved.
All right.
Thank you very much. We are very appreciative of the work you're doing.
Yes.
Don't want to leave the impression that we're trying to stop you from developing it. Just as the Architecture Review Board, we're trying to make sure we get as much architecture out of it as we can. But obviously, anything there is an improvement, so thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. What's next? Item 7 is revisiting the exterior remodel of the west facade at Mojo Bar at 1235 Pennsylvania Avenue. So Scott, if your team can come and make introductions and give us an update.
You're on this board now? You're on this board now? So I wasn't here last time, so I don't want to, I guess, jump along too much with things that were discussed or not. So I guess I'll just open it up to you. I mean, is there anything you guys want me to explain about this, or should I just rattle off our thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think let them.
I guess there were two things at the last visit. One was just having enough documentation for us to be able to comment on it. And you've provided that, so much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll take responsibility for that. I didn't realize I'd sent some renderings, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you need anything for the architecture review? It's like, oh, I'm meeting them today. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So no problem.
So the package we've got now certainly gives us enough to be able to understand it and talk about it in more detail. We had brought up some concerns with the single-story storefront element not being following typical storefront historic patterns, and whether that was intentional, and if so, why choosing to deviate from that?
Well, I think right now, when you look at that existing building, I mean, that's really a shed, you know, that's attached to it. I think, is that correct, that this may have been a garage at one time? So, oh yeah, just like that. So we didn't want to, you know, really pull away from the main building. I think the main building is the nicest part of this whole structure here. That's the part that's really on the corner. That's the main entry. That's what you see. That has, you know, that's got the Cream City brick and that nice arched entryway and things like that. So we wanted to kind of spruce up the front a little bit, still keeping it somewhat simple. My client had a desire to have a second door to kind of help out with some accessibility because we can get in on the street there. We wanted it centered in that area because that back room has, the function of the room has tables on both sides. It has tables across that back area, so that's why we didn't necessarily put in a full height storefront. We kind of took the height of the existing windows that were there as our cue for that. So we kind of like hide in with those windows that we have on the on either side of that kind of arch type of door. We did play around with a couple different options of, you know, maybe if it was like slightly skinnier or maybe two windows that were kind of apart, so we're kind of open to some of that. my client didn't really have the budget right now to put in like a full glass storefront on the existing part. So what we tried to do was to kind of make it seem like an architectural element as best we could. So we kind of put some panels like underneath there, painting it darker, would kind of blend it in a little bit more so it seemed like an architectural element. And that's pretty much what we were trying to do, or our thought processes for that. My client had the existing was that vinyl siding, so we wanted to get rid of that vinyl siding, so we went with the fiber cement. And I guess how we have a separate band up above of that, of kind of like that shake. It was just kind of a desire to do something different because it's the part above the window on the existing building, that kind of dark part, which is actually, I don't know why, it's looking like really, I think that should be darker than what it's showing in there. There must be a weird color thing there. We would do those as shakes, like the fiber cement shake panels, to kind of break that up as something kind of different, so. And I think it shows it maybe a little bit better on the renderings. I'm not sure what, I think that's on page 54. Yeah, kind of shows it a little bit more, how it kind of, how the shakes kind of blend in a little bit more that way.
So I guess maybe to clarify that one first, I think on the elevation, that panel above those 3 existing windows is labeled as existing. Existing signboard? Should that be?
Signboard back up there, right? Yeah. There's, he's got his existing sign he wants to put back up there, so.
So the Mojo sign that's there is where that arrow should be pointed to?
So you're gonna keep it exactly where it's at? Okay, so the sign, okay, my apologies. The sign stays exactly where it's at in that existing photo.
It's his existing signboard, yeah.
And so then there isn't a label to that area that would be the shake siding, same as going on the.
Yeah, so go back to the rendering. So we're gonna do a black shake above the window. Right, so right above the window and right above that cornice that we're making, that's a black shake, and then the other side is a beige shake on the existing, or on the smaller building.
And did you consider doing a panelized system there rather than the siding?
A panelized system?
Yeah.
Such as?
Similar to what you're doing under the 3 windows.
Sidebar?
So you're saying doing panels that are under the 3 windows, doing it under the 2 windows?
Yeah, the panelized system would be more typical on a historic storefront rather than a siding approach. Yeah. Just wondered if that had been considered.
Well, I think, okay, yeah, I see where you're getting for that. So I think, I think our thought with that was that, that building's a really simple building. We didn't really want to emphasize it that much. And I think there's plenty of traditional buildings that we can document that wouldn't necessarily have had that going all the way down that way. And I think we really want to still maintain the main focus as the main entrance of the building. That was our goal and intention.
Other comments, questions from the board? Pam and Dave, anything from you guys?
Nothing from me.
Okay.
Did we lose Pam?
Pam, are you still with us? If you are, we're not hearing you.
Yeah.
Okay, Pam has dropped off. So, Dick?
Yes, have there been any studies made on the north elevation?
I haven't really done anything on that north side.
Yeah, I've done some more studying, and I did look into the area that's below the sign, and there was Cream City that continued along the bottom side. So at one point, it definitely was Cream City that would be underneath that sign.
Oh, over here, okay.
You're talking about that piece right there?
Yeah.
This section?
Yep.
So I think there's been discussion about what would happen around the corner, but that's not part of our discussion today. The focus is just that west elevation.
Yeah, the question is, with the removal of the cornice on the top of the west side, does that remove the cornice down on the north side as well?
What do we, well, we added a cornice above that window, the existing 3-panel windows that's right below the sign on the west elevation. We weren't taking anything off.
Well, the top of the entrance has been removed. That's what I see. Is that correct?
No.
There's a dome up there that has disappeared.
Oh, you mean way up on top of the?
Way up at the top, yes.
Oh, I apologize for that. I guess I was focused, that's gonna stay existing. I apologize for the discretion there in that elevation. I didn't, I lost that piece.
Top is staying there?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Sorry about that.
There's a cat. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I would say what we're seeing here is definitely improvement over what's there right now, especially getting rid of the vinyl. It would be great, and I know they're going to work on that other side of the building to tie that around because the vinyl is the only thing tying the two sides together right now. So once the one side disappears, it becomes even more glaring on that side, which is arguably the side that most people see most often. Obviously, the brick and everything else, the windows will all stay, but as soon as you can get rid of that vinyl, I think it will tie the remainder of the building together. I like the separation of the two buildings on the side. To be honest, anything besides that vinyl with the little window at the top will be a major improvement. So I'd make a motion to approve, subject to any further review for sign packages at the staff level.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is approved.
And I still remember turning 50 in that building. Barely.
What's that?
Well, it's all over.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, so next meeting is November 28th.
Right.
So 2 weeks.
Thanksgiving.
Yep. Any other items for discussion? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
You're welcome.
Dave.